In the vast dusty plains of Texas, in a county marked by scorching heat and endless horizons, lives Daniel, a humble rancher whose face bears the weight of drought and mounting debts. His ranch barely survives with skinny cattle and sun-baked land, yet his dignity remains intact. One summer morning, returning from the local market where he sold only a few head of cattle for meager prices, he finds Lily, an overweight young woman with timid eyes and sweat-drenched clothes, collapsed by the dusty roadside after suffering a breakdown. Moved by human instinct and the simple upbringing inherited from his family, Daniel helps her, offering cold water from his canteen, shade under his worn wooden porch, and genuine care, never imagining the impact this gesture would have on their lives. The hot wind carries the scent of dry earth as he helps the stranger recover, his kind eyes reflecting the compassion that defines his character. The next day, as the sun still painted the sky orange over the Texas hills, Lily's family appears at the ranch in an impressive convoy of luxury cars that brutally contrast with the rural simplicity. To Daniel's surprise, they are not simple travelers, but the owners of the largest cattle ranch that supplies half the state. Known for their incalculable fortune and political influence, Lily's mother, elegant and cold as polished marble, questions Daniel's integrity with sharp words, while her father observes with calculated silence, evaluating every detail of the scene with a penetrating gaze. The tension thickens like the morning fog when it becomes clear that Lily had run away from home after years of psychological pressures about her body and life choices. Daniel, a simple man with no intention of getting involved in others' family conflicts, now faces the prejudice of an elite who sees him as utterly insignificant. During an impromptu dinner on the rustic ranch porch, by the flickering light of old lanterns, amidst wood-smoked ribs, still warm cornbread, and the strong aroma of freshly brewed coffee, social differences explode in harsh words that cut through the night air. Lily stands up for the first time in her life against her parents' constant oppression, defending Daniel as someone who saw her beyond physical appearances and superficial judgments. The family, torn between wounded pride and growing discomfort, must decide whether to finally accept their daughter's will or continue to treat her only as a direct reflection of their social prestige. The family clash reaches its emotional peak when the father, a man with an austere expression and a clenched jaw, authoritatively imposes the final decision that will change not only Lily's future life, but also Daniel's uncertain destiny forever. The family's decision resonated through the property like the distant echo of thunder. As Daniel observed the tense expressions around the worn wooden table, the patriarch, after a long silence laden with reflection, surprised everyone by declaring that Lily could choose her own path, publicly acknowledging the value of Daniel's simple gesture. Her mother, initially resistant, gradually yielded upon realizing her daughter's unwavering determination and the rancher's silent dignity. Tears of relief streamed down Lily's face as she embraced Daniel, thanking him for seeing her humanity when everyone else saw only flaws. The Texas night witnessed a profound transformation, prejudices being broken, social barriers crumbling, and hearts opening to previously unimaginable possibilities. Daniel, who had always lived with little but never lost his essence, became an example that true wealth lies in the ability to extend a hand to those in need, regardless of the circumstances. In the following days, while Lily's family returned to their mansion in the hills, she remained at the simple ranch, embarking on a journey of self-discovery among cows, chickens, and the arduous routine of rural life. Daniel taught her about working the land, about finding beauty in small things, and about building self-esteem away from society's imposed standards. Under the scorching Texas sun, Lily discovered muscles she didn't know she possessed, developed calluses on her hands, and more importantly, found an inner peace that had eluded her for years. Her fine clothes gave way to faded jeans and dusty boots, while her smile became more frequent and genuine. The transformation was not just physical, but mainly emotional. She learned to value her own company and to find purpose in simple actions like feeding the animals at dawn. Daniel, in turn, rediscovered through her eyes the value of his humble life, realizing that true wealth is not measured in dollars, but in moments of authentic human connection. Months later, When the first rains finally arrived to break the prolonged drought, Lily and Daniel contemplated together the transformation of the arid landscape into green fields. The young woman, now more confident and determined, decided to use her family's fortune to create a support program for struggling farmers, honoring the man who taught her about dignity and compassion. Daniel, initially reluctant to accept financial help, understood that his positive influence could multiply through this generous initiative. The rain fell softly on the zinc roof of the house, creating a natural melody that accompanied their conversations about the future. Lily no longer returned to the empty luxury life she knew, choosing to build something meaningful alongside the man who saved her not only physically, but emotionally. The ranch, once a symbol of struggle and hardship, became the birthplace of a transformative friendship that proved how simple gestures can plant seeds of extraordinary change, blossoming into stories of hope and human renewal. Dawn slowly broke over the ranch, painting the sky in rosy hues as Daniel walked through the property, checking on the animals. Lily accompanied him, her boots still awkward on the uneven ground, but her determined gaze revealed a deep inner transformation. Together, they discussed the first steps of the support program she intended to create, their voices blending with the distant lowing of the cattle. The morning breeze carried the scent of fresh hay and the promise of a productive day, as the two planned how to use the family's resources responsibly. Daniel, a man of few words but great ideas, suggested starting small, first helping the closest neighbors who also struggled against the drought and debts. Lily jotted down each suggestion in a worn notebook she found in the house, its yellowed pages bearing witness to the birth of a project that could change lives. The sun rose completely, illuminating not only the Texas landscape, but also the hopeful faces of two people united by a common purpose. In the nearby town, the news of Lily's continued stay at Daniel's ranch generated waves of speculation and curiosity among the local residents. At the central market, amidst sacks of grain and farm tools, farmers whispered about the wealthy heiress who chose the simple life of the countryside. Some expressed skepticism, believing she would soon tire of rural hardships and return to the comfort of her family mansion. Others, having known Daniel's integrity for decades, defended the sincerity of the young woman's intentions. The local church pastor, a wise man with graying hair, observed the situation with interest, recognizing signs of true spiritual transformation in both. The women of the sewing club heatedly debated whether a person can truly change their essence, while the men at the bar discussed whether Daniel made the right choice by getting involved with rich folks' problems. The small community, accustomed to a predictable routine, now buzzed with expectations about the unfolding of this unusual story. During a particularly hot afternoon, when the thermometer hit over 100 degrees in the shade, Lily faced her first major challenge on the ranch, helping Daniel repair the fence that enclosed the main pasture. Under the unforgiving sun, she learned to handle barbed wire, a sledgehammer, and wooden stakes, her inexperienced hands soon developing small cuts and calluses. Sweat streamed down her face as she struggled with the frustration of not being able to keep up with Daniel's experienced pace. He, noticing her difficulty, stopped work and patiently taught her each movement, his calm words contrasting with the impatience she felt with herself. Gradually, Lily found her own rhythm, discovering an unexpected satisfaction in manual labor she had never experienced. When they finally finished the repair, she looked at her dirty and bruised hands with genuine pride, understanding that each mark represented a step towards the independence she had always desired. The first summer storm arrived without warning, transforming the blue sky into a dark and menacing mass that quickly approached the ranch. Daniel and Lily rushed to protect the animals, guiding the cattle into the barn as the first heavy drops began to fall. The wind intensified, violently swaying the trees and kicking up dust clouds that obscured vision. Inside the house, they listened to the thunder echoing across the plains as the rain furiously beat against the windows. Lily, initially frightened by the fury of nature, gradually calmed down as she observed Daniel's tranquility, who saw the storm as a necessary blessing for his parched lands. Together, they prepared strong coffee and settled on the covered porch, watching the water run through the furrows of the arid earth. The storm, which could have been a cause for fear, became a moment of deep connection between two individuals who had learned to find beauty even in the most challenging situations. Weeks later, when the rain finally ceased and the sun returned to shine on the renewed landscape, Lily's parents made an unexpected visit to the ranch. This time, they arrived in a single car without the pomp of the first visit, demonstrating a subtle but significant change in attitude. Lily's mother, noticing her daughter's physical and emotional transformations, struggled internally between maternal pride and concerns about the family's reputation. Her father, a practical man accustomed to evaluating investments, recognized in his daughter's bright eyes a return that no money could buy. During lunch at the simple wooden table, they discussed the future farmer support program and gradually understood that Lily had not only found her calling, but also discovered a way to use her inheritance to create lasting positive impact. Daniel, initially tense with the presence of his potential in-laws, relaxed as he realized they finally saw value in his way of life. The conversation extended until sunset, sealing not only family approval, but also a partnership that would transform the entire region. 6 months later, Daniel's ranch had transformed into the center of a revolutionary program that had already benefited dozens of struggling rural families. Lily, now tanned by the sun and strengthened by physical labor, managed the operations with surprising competence, combining her privileged education with the practical wisdom learned alongside Daniel. The love that blossomed between them was not declared in grand words, but built day after day through simple gestures, shared work, and mutual respect. The ranch fences were expanded, not just to accommodate more animals, but symbolically to embrace an entire community that found hope where there had once been only despair. Daniel, who once considered himself merely a failed farmer, was now respected as a mentor and community leader. On hot afternoons, when the work was done, they sat on the renovated porch, contemplating not only the beauty of the Texas landscape, but also the certainty that a simple act of compassion can plant seeds of transformation that blossom into generations of hope and shared prosperity. The local community gathers for the first annual Farmers Support Program fair, held on the spacious grounds next to Daniel's ranch. Colorful stalls display agricultural products cultivated by the beneficiary families, from golden corn to enormous pumpkins gleaming under the Texas sun. Lily circulates among the exhibitors, greeting each farmer by name and inquiring about their harvests, demonstrating a knowledge that surprises even the most skeptical. Daniel watches with silent pride as she negotiates fair prices with buyers from the city, ensuring producers receive adequate value for their hard work. The aroma of barbecue mingles with the sound of country music played by a local band, creating a festive atmosphere that celebrates not only the abundance of the harvests, but also the unity of a community that has learned to prosper collectively. Children run among the stalls, their laughter echoing across the property as their parents share stories of overcoming adversity and gratitude, transforming the event into a true testament to the power of human solidarity. During an intimate conversation on the porch, under the starry Texas sky, Lily confesses to Daniel her fears about the future and the constant pressure to prove that her transformation is genuine. He listens patiently as she vents about family expectations, the malicious comments from old high society acquaintances, and the constant need to validate her choices. Daniel, with his simple wisdom cultivated through years of adversity, responds that true change doesn't need external approval, but only the inner peace that comes from living in accordance with one's values. His words, spoken with the slow cadence characteristic of countrymen, penetrate deep into Lily's heart, who finally understands that she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone but herself. The comfortable silence that settles between them is broken only by the chirping of crickets and the gentle wind rustling the window curtains, creating a moment of intimacy that further strengthens the bonds uniting them on a shared journey of personal growth. The arrival of autumn brings not only changes in the landscape, with leaves turning golden hues, but also the first major test for Lily and Daniel's relationship. A national magazine publishes a sensationalist article about the heiress-turned-farmer, distorting the facts and ridiculing both her transformation and the social work they developed together. Lily's family, concerned about the negative repercussions, pressures her to return home and abandon what they call her rebellious phase. Daniel, observing Lily's distress, offers her the freedom to leave without resentment, demonstrating true love by putting her well-being above his own feelings. Lily, however, surprises everyone by calling a press conference at the ranch itself, where she presents concrete data on the program's success and challenges critics to personally visit the region to witness the real transformations. Her firm and articulate stance before the cameras reveals a woman who has found her voice and is not afraid to use it in defense of her convictions. The Texas winter, though milder than in other regions, brings its own challenges to the ever-growing ranch. Lily and Daniel work side by side, repairing stables, organizing supplies, and planning next year's activities, their partnership naturally evolving from friendship to something deeper. One evening, while organizing documents in the living room, surrounded by piles of financial reports and thank you letters from beneficiary families, Daniel finally expresses his feelings with the simple honesty that characterizes everything in his life. Lily, who had awaited this moment for months, responds with tears of happiness, recognizing that she had found not only love, but also true purpose and identity. The marriage proposal happens spontaneously and naturally, without expensive rings or elaborate settings, just two hearts recognizing each other as soulmates before the crackling fireplace. The decision to build a life together represents not only a romantic union, but also the consolidation of a partnership that has already transformed dozens of lives and promises to impact future generations. The following spring witnesses the most talked-about wedding ceremony in the region, held outdoors at the ranch itself, decorated with wildflowers and surrounded by the community they helped transform. Lily, radiant in a simple dress she chose herself, walks down the improvised dirt aisle to the sound of guitars played by local musicians. Daniel, elegant in his best suit but keeping the worn leather boots he refused to change, awaits her at the altar built under the shade of an ancient oak tree. The guests include both calloused hand farmers and members of high society, united for the first time in a celebration that transcends social barriers. The pastor, the same man who baptized Daniel decades ago, conducts the ceremony with words emphasizing the transformative power of true love and service to others. When they finally kiss as husband and wife, applause echoes across the Texas landscape, sealing not only a matrimonial union, but also the definitive triumph of authentic human values over prejudice and empty social conventions. 5 years later, the ranch that once symbolized a solitary struggle against adversity now represents collective hope and shared prosperity for the entire region. Lily and Daniel, parents of twins who play freely among chickens and calves, have built not only a happy family, but also a lasting legacy of social transformation. The Farmer Support Program has expanded to other states, serving as a national model for sustainable rural development. The former rebellious heiress has become a respected community leader, while the humble farmer has found himself a natural mentor and social visionary. Their children grow up learning values of hard work, genuine compassion, and social responsibility, preparing to continue the mission that began with a simple act of kindness on a dusty road. On quiet afternoons, when the work is done and the family gathers on the porch to watch the sunset, they know they have built something much greater than personal happiness. They have created living proof that true love and determination can plant seeds of change that blossom into gardens of hope for entire generations. The rural school in the region receives a significant donation from the program led by Lily and Daniel, allowing for the construction of new classrooms and the hiring of qualified teachers. The children of the beneficiary farmers now have access to quality education without having to travel long distances to the city. Lily, using her academic background, develops an innovative curriculum that combines traditional knowledge with sustainable agricultural practices, preparing young people for both higher education and the continuation of family businesses. Daniel contributes by teaching practical workshops on carpentry and animal husbandry, passing on knowledge he learned from his own father decades ago. The result is a generation of students who value both their rural roots and the possibilities of the modern world. The inauguration of the renovated school becomes a memorable event, with entire families celebrating not only the physical improvements, but mainly the educational opportunities that will ensure a more prosperous future for their children in a region reborn through solidarity. During an unexpected drought that threatens the region's crops, Lily and Daniel implement a revolutionary shared irrigation system that connects several properties through a network of canals and reservoirs. The project requires considerable investment and complex coordination among dozens of farmers, testing the couple's leadership in a real crisis situation. Lily negotiates with suppliers and government authorities, using both personal resources and subsidized loans obtained through her political connections. Daniel supervises the technical construction, working from dawn to dusk under the scorching sun to ensure that every foot of piping is correctly installed. The community mobilizes in an impressive joint effort, with men, women, and teenagers working together, digging ditches and transporting materials. When the water finally begins to flow through the canals, irrigating fields that had been doomed to total loss, tears of relief and gratitude stream down the faces of the farmers, who recognize in the couple's initiative the salvation of their crops and, consequently, their families. A national documentary about rural transformation chooses Lily and Daniel's ranch as its main setting, attracting the attention of university researchers, politicians, and international organizations interested in replicating the community development model. The cameras capture intimate moments of the couple's routine, from morning meetings with farmers to evenings dedicated to planning new projects. Lily, initially uncomfortable with media exposure, gradually understands that visibility can multiply the impact of her work on a national scale. Daniel, a naturally reserved man, allows cinematographers access to his property, recognizing the importance of inspiring other rural communities across the country. The documentary reveals not only the successes achieved, but also the difficulties faced, the conflicts resolved, and the moments of doubt overcome. When the film is released, it receives critical acclaim and important awards, but the greatest recognition comes from the hundreds of letters received from farmers nationwide asking for guidance to implement similar programs in their regions. The arrival of a severe storm tests the physical and emotional resilience of the entire community, with winds exceeding 90 miles per hour and hailstones the size of golf balls. Lily and Daniel coordinate evacuation efforts, transforming the main barn into a temporary shelter for families whose homes were damaged by nature's fury. For 3 days, they organize food distribution, basic medical care, and activities to calm frightened children. The storm destroys a significant portion of crops and damages essential equipment, representing devastating financial losses for many farmers. Daniel works tirelessly clearing debris and assessing damage, while Lily liaises with insurance companies and government agencies to expedite compensation processes and emergency aid. The solidarity demonstrated during the crisis further strengthens community bonds, with neighbors sharing scarce resources and offering volunteer work for reconstruction. When the sun finally shines again, revealing a devastated landscape but an intact community spirit, everyone recognizes that they faced adversity with dignity and unity. The microcredit program developed by Lily allows young rural entrepreneurs to start small businesses, from apiaries to sewing workshops, diversifying the local economy beyond traditional agriculture. Maria, daughter of one of the first beneficiary farmers, uses the loan to set up an artisan bakery that supplies fresh bread to the entire region. Carlos, a young mechanic, establishes a workshop specializing in agricultural equipment repairs, reducing maintenance costs for local producers. Daniel personally oversees each new venture, offering practical advice based on his decades of experience dealing with rural challenges. Lily develops workshops on financial management and business planning, adapting complex business concepts to the simple reality of local residents. The success of the small businesses creates a multiplying effect, generating additional jobs and keeping financial resources circulating within the community itself. In a few years, the region transforms from an area exclusively dependent on agriculture into a diversified and self-sustaining economic ecosystem. 10 years after their first meeting on the dusty road, Lily and Daniel celebrate their wedding anniversary by gathering hundreds of people whose lives have been directly or indirectly transformed by their initiative. The ranch, now a thriving center of a renewed community, receives visitors from various states who come to learn about the rural development model that has become a national reference. Their 3 children, growing up in an environment that values both formal education and practical wisdom, demonstrate early maturity and a sense of social responsibility inherited from their parents. Lily, recognized with national awards for social development, maintains the humility that has characterized her since her personal transformation, continuing to work directly with the beneficiary families. Daniel, respected as a wise mentor by generations of farmers, preserves the authentic simplicity that has always defined him, finding true satisfaction in seeing others' dreams come true. The anniversary celebration extends late into the night, with music, dancing, and shared stories under the bright Texas stars, celebrating not only a marital union, but more importantly, the transformative power of genuine love applied to collective service.